to Enlightenment of Change on webtalkradio.com. I'm your host, Connie Whitman. You know that I'm excited that you're joining us this week. So here's the deal. We hear that word change and everybody goes, oh, yikes, and we stop breathing sometimes. Change can be hard, especially if the change is thrust upon us and we haven't chosen it. So for me, in my life, I have found that when we could communicate at a much higher level, no matter what change is thrust upon us, we could come out of it a little bit easier with some grace and ease. So in the show notes, you will find my communication style assessment. It's my link tree. And in there, you'll see the communication style assessment. Take the assessment. If you haven't already, you're going to get 2 reports. First report will just spotlight your natural communication superpowers, which is important because you want to leverage that. Flip side, you'll get a secondary report on your lowest score. And for me, that really is the more important one, because when we communicate with people who are 180 degrees different on how they communicate, that's where conflict starts to arise. So by shining a light on that blind spot, it'll make you more aware when you're talking with those people so that your message lands appropriately. And again, it just creates a little bit of ease and grace in our life. Now, so that's my gift to you. I hope you take advantage of it. Now, my guest today and I want to set the stage for our conversation. And the quote I chose is by Lacey Knight. And Lacey says, our DNA is like a genie in a bottle, except they are genes in our body connected to the unified field of the universe. They react to our thoughts to make our wishes a reality by attracting people, things, and experiences we desire and think about most. Intriguing, yes. So one of my favorite studies on these human memories, habits, and again, this transmission of learning through our DNA was by Dias and Ressler. And over the basics of this scientific research was that over several repetitions, they trained mice to become afraid of the smell of cherry blossoms. And then they associated that cherry blossom with the pain, kind of like Pavlov's theory, but they went further with it. They mated the mice and they had little pups and they put the cherry blossom in the habitat, and the baby mice who were not exposed to any external stimulant, they had little electricity in the bottom. These poor little mice would react even though there was just the cherry blossom. So the smell and the pain trigger was transferred through their DNA. Fascinating. So this plays out for humans on our ancestral DNA level too. So I hope you're intrigued, because this is probably one of my favorite topics to discuss. And my guest today is an expert in this world. Her name is Judy Wilkins-Smith. She's highly regarded executive coach, family patterns, systemic work, and constellations expert, transformational speaker, and author who is passionate about individual growth, visionary leadership, and positive accelerated global change. The founder of System Dynamics for Individuals and Organizations. She has over 20 years of expertise assisting high-performance individuals, Fortune 500 execs, Chevron, JP Morgan, Kellogg's, ExxonMobil, just to name a few, and a legacy families to end limiting cycles and create lasting breakthroughs and transitions into peak performance. She's also the author of the best-selling book, Decoding Your Emotional Blueprint, a powerful guide to transformation through disentangling multi-generational patterns. Amen, sister. Judy, thanks for being on the show. I'm really excited. This is a cool topic, man.
Oh, it's a cool topic. And by the way, what you're going to love even more, excuse me as I duck.
Yes.
You're talking about DNA. There's number 2. Look at that one.
Oh, my God. The hidden power in your DNA. I love it. Did you just come out with that one, Jude?
Just come out with it.
Okay, awesome. I'll add that to the show notes, everybody, so you can certainly find both books. At the end, you're going to be intrigued. We want to get those books. Good summer reading, Judy, for everybody, right? While we sit on the beach.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Decoding Your Emotional Blueprint is still a good reads, must read, and it's in psychology today. So people are fascinated. I love how you were talking about things being transferred through your genes. It's more your epigenetics than your genes, which you probably know. And it's fascinating because you said 2 things when you were doing the intro. You said, find your superpower in your communication and then find the one you struggle with. The superpower is the one you want to max out and really invest in. But this little one over here that you're struggling with is your potential. And it's saying to you, see me, see me, see me, see me. It's asking a pattern to stop so that you could start a new one.
That's exactly right. And we have control over these patterns, but we have to be aware of the patterns, shine lights on them, and then become curious and investigate, right? So let's talk about this. People around the world, right? We're all fascinated by this notion of ancestry, all of these blood tests that you can take, right, to find out your ancestry, where you're from. So over 100 million family trees have been built on ancestry.com alone. Can you also research the emotional DNA? And then what do we learn from it after we figure that out?
Your emotional DNA is pretty much what drives the bus. So yes, you can. And that piece that you were talking about with the little mice, which sounds gosh awful, but they got results.
Yeah.
Is some of that epigenetic stuff. It is passed down. It's your patterns of thoughts, feelings, and actions. And that's your emotional DNA. While your physical DNA is a little more fixed, your emotional DNA is not. You absolutely have control over that. Now, people will say to me, well, I've been in a horrible situation. I had no choice. Yes, you did. Sometimes your choice is, I choose to live. And that's your first choice. So you've got to build on those choices. The point is, most of us do it completely unconsciously. We just kind of amble along. Yeah. But it's when you become conscious of what you're focusing on that everything begins to change. And this whole emotional DNA piece rises to the surface. I use systemic work and constellations because it talks about the study of you within a system, but it also allows you to dimensionalize whatever it is that's going on here. And I'll give you a very quick sort of thing. You know that what you focus on expands.
Yeah.
A quick one. So before the show, I went for a quick walk. And I was walking around and I was focusing on talking to money, which I do a lot. And I had this kind of big grin on my face and sort of an internal twirl with money. And I looked down and there were coins all over. And I've done this more than once. So I know that money interacts with us. It is a force and a friend. My money walk was actually based on one of those. So really, a lot of it is about what are you focusing on? What are you focusing on? Now, if you become super focused, it means that at any point in the day, if I'm talking to you, I'm not looking over here and I'm present.
Yes.
And because I'm present, what needs to can swim into focus. And once we start to realize that, we also begin to realize we are superheroes. We've just got to go in search of our superpowers. We are not victims. We are not victims.
So a couple of things I think are important to note there. The word choice, right? I find people say, well, Connie, I have no choice. I need the paycheck, even though it's a soul-sucking job and they're disrespected. And I say, that's the choice. You're choosing to stay for the paycheck, but you have to realize you made that choice. No one's forcing you to get up in the morning, drive to that office or work virtually, whatever it might be. So we're always making choices. I think sometimes we forget that we're in the driver's seat of making those choices, right? So that's number one. The other thing you said, like the money, creating the money where you found the DNA. What are our thoughts? The more we focus on it, I think manifests right in front of us. But I think we're also sidetracked. You hear people, oh, I'm a good multitasker. And I laugh when I hear that because multitasking is nonsense. As soon as you start multitasking, you've just devalued every effort you put out there. So if we could focus, even if you set your timer and say 30 minutes, I am going to focus on writing these emails or whatever it might be from a business perspective, you're going a mile deep versus a mile wide. It's the quality versus quantity. And now all of a sudden life becomes easier because you're focused on what you're doing versus doing 5 things at once. We're not present in our lives. And then we're like zombies walking through life. And that's really dangerous because again, that's a choice. You see, there's always choices. I just wanted to expand that thought because I'm in agreement 100%.
Yeah, and choices are also important things because they're tied to commitments and goals. Which one do you want?
Yeah.
You're going to have both, but if you keep forgetting to invest in your goals, you're going to get stuck with commitment only.
Yeah.
And you need commitment to get to the goal. So it's once you have the commitment with an elevated emotion, which is usually excitement or passion, that's the little bit of music that's going to take you all the way there. And then you want to be sure that you're connected head, heart, and gut. Because if any of the three are out of sync, It's really like playing in a symphony orchestra with 6 conductors.
Yes. Say those 3 again. That was important. Say those 3 again.
Head, heart, gut. So it looks like this. When something happens, when we have an event, we start to make decisions. Those decisions become thoughts, feelings, and actions. Now, if we're focused on achieving something and we say, you know what, I'm going to become a millionaire. Yes. And the heart goes, ooh, and the gut goes, and it's going, how? And the heart's going, that's not ethical. Well, you're not going anywhere. But if you go, I'm going to become a millionaire, and the heart goes, this is exciting. What could we do with that? What good could we do in the world? What difference could we make? And the gut goes, oh, this is fun. I'm in cruise control here. The gut is your inner compass. We use it very badly as a source of instead of a source of navigation. But when those 3 line up, then we've got source. Now, we all know how to do that, except most of us do it the rotten way, which is we head, heart, and gut negatively. I'm so stupid. Survival brain. Yes, I am heart. Oh, my gut agrees. I'm about to make a mistake. Survival brain. Yes, my heart agrees. Boom, my gut's with, and off we go. But there are those moments when we go, I'm about to run this race. I cannot wait to run this race. I have goosebumps. I'm about to change my life. And my head is saying yes, and my heart is saying yes, and that gut's going, let's go. And that's when you see top athletes doing the unusual. It's where you see everybody doing the unusual. And when we do the unusual gives us great results.
Fascinating. Head, heart, and gut. I love it. And it's a simple concept, and everybody knows what you're talking about because we think it. Then our heart, it resonates or it doesn't, right? It hurts or it feels good. And then the gut is that clenching, right? The solar plexus kind of clenching up, or
exactly.
Ooh, you kind of breathe where you're not clenching, you know you're on the right track. Next question. Is there scientific evidence of this emotional DNA that we're talking about?
Oh, you just spoke about it. You just spoke about it. No. When you talked about the mice.
Yes.
The elevated PTSD markers. There's a great Dutch hunger winter where they studied mothers after the Nazis encircled an entire city. And there was no food, no water for 3 months. They had to exist on what was there. And after that, they did a study, and their PTSD markers were elevated. Their cortisol levels were elevated. Their children's were the same. Their children's children were the same. Their children's children's children were the same. Right. So you had 4 generations. In 9/11, we had mothers with elevated PTSD markers, their children, and now their children's children are starting to show that. So we know this exists. And everybody goes, oh, that's terrible. And I go, no, it's great, because it's telling you your job on earth is to have a look and say, okay, this isn't working. How do I want it to work? And then it's to head, heart, gut in a way that is fun, in a way that is joyful, in a way that is passionate, and then engineer that emotional DNA into what you want. Because when you do what you want, it fills your cup. When you fill your cup, what's the first thing you want to do?
Drink.
Share. Drink is good. Actually, drink is really good.
A simple gal, Judy. I'm a simple gal.
No, but that's really an intriguing thought. You're quite right. First, you want to drink, and then you want to share. I'm going to steal that one, so thank you for that. But we want to share. But we've got to fill our own cups first.
Yes.
And we're taught not to. We're taught to give it away, don't want, be small, which is exactly the opposite of what we should be doing. You should want a lot, be big, share.
Yeah. Yeah. Show up, man. It's one, you got this life. Ride it hard, because we don't know when our expiration date is. So show up and here's the other thing, leave some type of legacy behind. And that doesn't have to be a financial legacy. It could be something you're teaching your kids or your grandkids, or a business, right? That I can help a business thrive, or you can help someone get rid of those tragic situations or traumas in their life. We can minimize that and have them thrive instead of survive. Surviving's not okay. And I think that we have been taught, just survive, just get through the day. And that's boring. And I find that
I'm with you.
You know what I'm saying?
It's super limiting. It's interesting that you say leave a legacy. I'm not a country music person, so don't anybody kill me. But unless I go to Nashville, when I teach in Nashville, I'm pure country. And if I could get to see Keith Urban one-on-one, that would totally make my day, because he is just
manifest that.
Amazing. Yeah. But there's a song by a client of mine's friend. She wrote it, and they're going to kill me again because I'm trying to think who's the guy who sings it. He's very famous, and it's called Always Be Humble. No, Humble and Kind.
Humble and Kind. I know who you're talking about. Miley Cyrus's dad, I think, wrote that.
No, that's not. No, it's not Miley Cyrus's dad.
Well, it'll come to us.
Anyway, this girl wrote it, and she wrote it because she came out of school where she dropped her kids off, and there was a big accident, and she was sitting looking, and she thought, what if I didn't make it home tonight? What would I want my kids to know?
Oh, you're making me cry.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And be humble and kind. True.
Be humble and kind. And I mean, for all of us, we have a superpower and a legacy to give. Yeah. And we're not taught to maximize it. I love you. I love your heart. It's so gentle.
That was just so lovely. That I love that song, by the way. And to hear the origin of that story, like we hear these songs and they move us. Like I start with my quotes because I think quotes move people emotionally. And now they're like, oh, I really got to listen to this episode. Songs do the same thing, right? They can move us in magical ways. So to hear the origin of that, oh my God, you just got me in the heart. I had goosebumps when you said that. It's beautiful. It's beautiful, right? We all have something to contribute. Yeah.
And we leave legacies far beyond where we are. So I'll tell you another one. So get your Kleenex out.
Yeah.
So there's another one. Many people would have seen it was on AGT. There were two women who came on and they sang the song from Wicked called Because of You. You know that song. Did you see that episode?
I did not, but that's one of my favorite plays of all time. Yeah.
So Simon asked them, why that song? And I always have to take a breath when I tell the story. And the one mother said, because I sang it to my son as he was dying. And the other one said, I sang it to my son as he received a new heart. And those were the two mothers.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, guys, get the tissues out. See, again, that through death comes life, right? That gift. It was a gift. Oh my goodness. All right. Next question.
Yes, let's get to the fun stuff.
All right. So let's talk about, I know you do systemic work. What I think we're talking about it. Can you ground the conversation so people really understand what that means? And then we're going to go into the constellation piece.
Absolutely.
Systemic work. Yeah.
Yeah. So systemic work is a really important thing. We're surrounded by it every day. You cannot escape it. You're part of a family, whether you know them or not. And you cannot not be part of a family. You came from a long line of people who incarnated all the way down to you. So systemic work is the study of you within the family. What are the patterns? What are the dynamics? Where did they come from? How are they affecting you now? What is your purpose with them? That is systemic work. Most systemic work stops at, what is the pattern that's bothering you? Here it is. Now you can be at peace. Mm-hmm. Where I work is, and then what? Mm-hmm. What is its purpose? What is your purpose with it? Mm-hmm. Because it's not there by accident. There is a reason that pattern shows up. All patterns show up to be resolved, to be amplified, and for you to take something to the next level. Always. So that's systemic work. A constellation, did I explain it enough for you?
Yes, that was beautiful. Yeah.
Okay. So one other thing about systemic work, it also means that these patterns that cycle down, you may have been depressed all your life, you don't know why. Angry, you don't know why. Struggling with money, you don't know why. It may not be your struggle, and it may not be your anger, and it may not be your depression. It may come from 3 or 4 or 5 generations ago, and it keeps echoing down, asking you to resolve it. And then to do something different so that you change the emotional DNA. So there's that. The next piece, of course, that's important is a constellation. So whenever I talk about constellations, people say to me, oh, you're an astrologer. No, I am not. A constellation in this sense is the grouping of elements within a home system. In other words, family members within family systems, employees within an organization, and we all have an imprint and we all belong to these in different ways. And so with a constellation, if you come in and you say to me, I'm really struggling with relationships, I'm really struggling with money, what we do is we identify all the moving parts of that struggle. Maybe it's mom, dad, sister, brother, money, whatever it looks like. And then I say to you, okay, I want you to set that up for me the way that it is for you here. Just give me a spatial configuration of what's going on here. And from that, you begin to see very quickly, dad's turned away, mom's engaged, you're between the two of them, sister is over here, but staring out, brother's right next to mom. And I can ask questions. Where is dad? Well, he never came back the same from war, in which case I'll put a representative in for war. Okay, what's going on with brother? Well, brother's right next to mom because dad's not available. Brother had to move in. So brother is almost like a surrogate spouse. So all of these dynamics start to come into consciousness. We literally make the unconscious conscious and the invisible visible. And now you're seeing what goes on in your system. And because you're seeing it, hearing it, touching it, walking in it, you have an embodied experience, which we call affectionately in this world, a deep aha shift. It's that it begins to rewire. So you're into neuroscience. It begins to rewire the brain and the body, the head, heart, and the gut. And so you start to see something differently, feel something differently, take a different action because you've seen this. And I have people who come in many times and they say, how is it possible to shift this in 2 hours? And I've been struggling with it for 20 years. Well, because you didn't see it, you didn't hear it, you had it all in here. So you couldn't see the relationships or the moving parts. This shows you the moving parts so that you can then do something with it right then.
It's interesting because we don't know what we don't know, right? Blind spots. We started with the blind spot. So once somebody shines a light, you're like, wait, what? And then all of a sudden the aha moment happens. Now, I have two pieces to build on this question. First, so I like the idea of the family, money issues, whatever that is, right? But the other piece you mentioned, because I know you work with big organizations too. Yeah. How does that play out in a corporate setting with this constellation awareness?
Well, what you want to do is you have something, for example, an organization that asks me to come in because they want to expand, but they're risk averse. So you've got these two kind of doing this. And then I say to the CEO, okay, when did this start? What happened? What was the triggering event? Well, we had this CEO who came in before me. He was great. And he made this executive decision to expand. And then 2008 happened and bunches of people were laid off and he got fired. So you're actually the one who's risk averse. Yes, I don't want to see any more people fired. And I don't want to actually leave the company. I love it. Okay, so what do we need to do? So we need to do cleanup on aisle 4. So yes. Cleanup on aisle 4 means we put everybody out. So the former CEO, all the ones who got fired, representatives for those, the current ones, and you'll see some are really scared because they're still loyal to the ones. They've got survivor's guilt.
Yeah.
Other newer ones are going, what's the deal? Why can't we move? And so what I'll frequently do is have the old CEO talk to the representative for the new CEO and say, this was yours, not mine. Yeah. But I'm holding it as though it's mine. Yeah. And for us to grow, I have to set this down. Thank you for everything you did. It's time for me to do something different. Mm-hmm. So it's really the languaging and the movement. And then saying to the other ones, the ones who stayed, having the conversation with the ones who left. We survived, you didn't. So we don't always do well in the company. With these ones saying, you need to give us a legacy. So it's really bringing the balance back to that. And you can either use live representatives or pieces of paper. But it's the conversations we haven't had that are still sitting here. It's the feelings we haven't expressed. Yeah. It's the actions that we've taken or not taken. And once we start to see them, well, then you can see where the obstacles are, where the limitations are, where the direction is, what needs to happen. And so you have three principles in all living systems: balance of give and receive, order and belonging. You want to check if everybody doesn't feel like they're belonging, how do we bring belonging? If there is an order, an out of orderness, in other words, the CEO may feel too small, juniors may feel too big, how do we restore that? Balance of give and receive, I'm on the clock 24/7 and I never get a raise, we have an issue. Mm-hmm. So it's bringing all of those back into balance and saying to the company, okay, so here's why you were risk averse. Here's the opportunity over here. Can you first have a conversation here? And then you'll often see them automatically go, okay, now I can turn and look at the opportunity because I've dealt with what was unresolved here. So it's bringing resolution and then bringing evolution. So we go from resolution to evolution.
Yeah, and we don't even know it's happening, right? It's that subconsciously, it's a fear-driven, right? Absolutely. I can't do that again. And the guilt left behind. And at the end, it's really about fear versus that love, right? Where we become open and expansive. So by understanding, it's a powerful position to create the change. Now we're in charge of the change.
Exactly.
Because we understand where the trauma, whatever that subconscious trauma or disconnect happened. Now we're in a position to kind of put the pieces together so that we can expand legacy, all the things that we've been talking about. Fascinating. Right.
Exactly right. And fear is going to keep us locked down. But here's the joke. A high percentage of the time when I say to somebody, what is it that you're most afraid of? They tell me and I say, has that ever happened? Oh, yeah. Okay, so it's already happened. It's done. But we don't remember to put the event down when it's complete. We hang on to trauma for generations. And in the end, nobody even knows what the trauma is about. They just know they've got the fear. But if you look at the triggering event, you can see why they've got the fear. And then when we put that fear down and say to it, thank you, you got us this far, but you can't get us this far, then everything can breathe.
Yeah. I just saw a sign. We were at a restaurant. We were on vacation at the shore, the Jersey Shore. And in the restaurant, it said something like 99% of the things you worry about will never happen. The 1% that, and this studies have been done, I think the 1%, those interviewed, that 1% of whatever that tragic thing they were worried about was going to happen. And they said, oh, but it was less than what was in my mind. So the actual event itself wasn't that big of a deal. So we spend 99% of our time in worry mode versus in, well, that's never going to happen. This is what I can control right here. Let me focus on what I do have control over versus that 99% you probably don't have control over.
Right. And let me grow what I want. Now, I say to people, do you watch horror movies? Do you?
Yeah, I love it.
You're the exception. Most people do not watch them, but we do tell ourselves horror stories all day long about ourselves and believe them.
Yeah, that is true, right? We tell horrors, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy.
Oh, absolutely.
I share a really, really funny story. So I grew up in a very Italian family. Love was everywhere. I mean, I was supported through my entire life. Yeah. So fast forward, I was about 50 and I was at a networking event. I was one of the speakers. I was the speaker and I happened to sit with a mom and a daughter. The daughter was 40. The mom was 60. I was right in the middle at 50. And we were talking about every decade, what we've learned, et cetera. And for the first time I was doing a lot of inner work at that time to feel worthy, because even though I had all this love in my life, I didn't feel I was deserving. So fast forward, we're talking, and all of a sudden out of my mouth comes, I am really blessed and I am grateful and I deserve. And as soon as I said I deserve, I welled it up and they looked at me and I said, no, you don't understand. This is a breakthrough for me. They must have thought I was lunatic, right? I'm the speaker and I'm sitting here almost in tears. And as we were talking about it, and the mother who had battled cancer and was a 10-year survivor, she looked at me and she says, isn't it amazing when those moments happen? And the 40-year-old is sitting there saying, what just happened with you two old broads, I got in the car and I called a friend who she and I were both kind of working on ourselves. And I go, you never believe what just happened. And this is what I said. And I deserve, and I am loved. I believe it. It was like a switch had gone off, but I had been doing the work underneath. So even though I belong to this amazing family and my clients love me, they hug and kiss me and all of these things, I didn't feel I was deserving of that emotional response. It's just so interesting how we hold that old baggage from wherever that came from, right? Big breakthrough.
We really hold on to it. And then one day we decide, well, I'm bored, and put it down and go, oh, it was that easy? Well, yes, there's a lot of work that's led up to it. But actually, at any time, we can put down the stuff that isn't working for us. But we work really hard to hold on to it.
We do. And we don't know why. It's just that's the way it's been, right? That again, it's fear. Underlying, I think,
exactly.
The underlying emotion is fear. One last question. We're almost out of time. But we're talking about these inherited family patterns. And again, they play over into our corporate and our professional lives as well. They're family patterns that aren't ours, and they're not serving us. But how do you know if it's your trauma from when you were, like, let's say from 0 to 7 versus an ancestral, deep-rooted thing that's been like the Nazi story, right? Where trauma went for generations. How do we know the difference?
Have a look at when you think it first started for you. Write that down. Ask yourself what you were doing at the time, what was happening in your life at the time. What did you make it mean about you? What did you make it mean about others? I wrote an article the other day and I said, who made you wrong and you believed them? Oh. So you want to look at that. Then have a look at your family system and go, where else has this ever played out? And if you can find it in the family system, it's not just yours. You're a very faithful echoer and holder of whatever's there. And it's time to put it down.
And move on. Right,
well, not just move on, not just never move, yes or no. So when you put that down, that's the pattern that wants to stop. And it's looking at you because there's also a pattern that wants to start. And that's the legacy piece. So if we've always been depressed, the legacy piece is I am joy. And when you get that and you turn it around, you're growing your emotional DNA and you're growing the world. So every pattern is there for you to change it. Every pattern is a clue to your purpose and a clue to your evolution. Every pattern.
It's interesting because, my grandparents obviously grew up late 1800s into the early 1900s. My mom was born in 1929, the Great Depression.
Oh,
so
yummy.
So, money issues were real for me. I know for sure. And, like they would tell stories that they'd buy milk and they'd have to water it down because my grandparents had five daughters, right? My mom being one of the 5. So you hear these stories, and then my mom, we don't have the money. Money doesn't grow on trees, all of that rhetoric. And then you start, I don't have the money. I can't afford that. I have to save.
Don't waste. Be careful. Watch out.
Yep. So that all plays out because you've heard it over and over. It becomes part of our programming because we don't even know it's there. It's just from hearing it over and over and over again. We think it's real because we respect, right, our parents, our grandparents.
You think it's the truth, only it's not. It's your truth, and you can change it anytime you want.
Yeah. The other thing, interesting, just one more quick story. My dad lived a life of duty. He's still alive. God bless him, 93 and a half. And God bless. He's amazing. I tell him I want to be him when I grow up. But he had a life of duty. It was not an easy life in Italy, then coming here, finding his way, learning English, being discriminated against. We've all, right, I'm sure many families have the similar story. And his need to work hard, for him, the mantra was work hard and you'll be able to provide. Work hard and you'll be able to provide. So I remember I just would work so hard because if there was a holiday, I'd take it so I could get time and a half. I would work. So it was working hard. And then finally I reached a point in my adult life. I thought, I can't work this hard anymore. It was taking a personal effect on me, on my health. I was fatigued all the time, right? Burnout, call it whatever you want. And I realized that was his teaching us. You have to work hard to succeed. And listen, I think hard work and showing up and being honest and in integrity, all those things are so important as a human, but working hard, money is not hard to make. We make it hard to make. So it was, again, part of my wiring that I learned from him. And that was his contract, right? With his life or his soul contract coming into this world, that hard work. And I've made a decision that I don't mind working hard. I like working, but I can't work as hard as I was. I never lifted my head up to see other opportunities.
Right.
So money becomes hard, right? We actually manifest that.
And we totally manifest that because that's what drives us. And you could I could put an opportunity in front of your nose. You will not see it.
No. And then woe's me, nothing, no, I have no luck except bad luck. All of that kind of rhetoric starts to play out in our very loud negative record players in our brains.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're out of time, Judy. This is one of my favorite topics. I love talking about this stuff because we think we have no control when we have so much control. Once we understand the power that we have choice, right? That, oh, that is a pattern. I wonder where it came from. I don't do that anymore, working hard.
I wonder what I can do with it. Yes.
Yeah, but now I'm in a powerful position to make a choice. Whether I say, well, I'm not going to change, that's a choice, or no, I don't like that anymore. I want to be this. I want to do this. I want to become this. We become quite powerful beings once we make that conscious decision.
Very much.
Yeah, I love it. I love it, Judy. I love you, my friend. So here's the deal.
You.
Please go to Judy's website. If this is intriguing you, either on a personal level or my corporate, my corporate workers out there and leaders and organizations, if this is something that is intriguing, that you feel the organization may be stagnating, why? You might not even know where to begin. So Judy might be a great ally for you there. So her website is Judy Wilkins-Smith.com. If you have a question for Judy directly, it's JM like Mary Smith21 @gmail.com. And I know you have a free book a workbook for everybody. Can you tell? I'll put the link in the show notes, but can you tell everybody what that is?
I do. It's probably going to be the bandwidth one because we don't realize how much we lock ourselves into our bandwidths. We have bandwidths for money. If mom and dad earned X amount, I can't earn more. If careers are worth so much, I can't earn more. And this teaches you to identify your bandwidth and then how to break out of it.
Oh, I'm going to read that one. I love it. That's an awesome.
It's nice.
And Judy, with your expertise in this, I think everybody has some form of a money issue. People amass millions of dollars and then they lose everything. There's a pattern there. Why?
Oh, yeah.
Right. So I think all of us have some form of a money issue. And with inflation being what it is in the world today, that could be a great resource. So again, what's the name of the book? What's the name of the ebook?
You mean the piece that they're going to go for? It's called Money Bandwidth.
Money Bandwidth. And we'll put that link in the show notes, guys, for you to find easily and read. And hopefully it helps you get to that next level, whether it be financially or just at least get you into the habit of looking at those patterns. And now you're in a powerful position to do something about it, right? Once we identify it, it becomes the shine light on that blind spot. All of a sudden, now we see it with clarity. Now we can take some action. Judy, you're a delight. Thank you so much for coming on. This was such a fun conversation. So interesting because what we knew, right? Our ancestors of thousands of years ago was different Socrates and all of those philosophers back then, they knew this. And then we said the industrial revolution, no, that's nonsense. And now the science is coming back with the neuroscience and these studies and all of these things that it's real. This is real stuff. It is tangible stuff, even though it's playing out in our subconscious. We can bring it to the conscious. We have the power to do it. We just need a tool. We need a roadmap to be able to accomplish that. And that's really what you've created in your business and the books. Again, the book's titles, I want to go back up, is Decoding Your Emotional Blueprint, a powerful guide to transformation through disentangling multi-generational patterns. And your new one is The Hidden Power in Your DNA. That is hot off the press. So again, check out Judy. Go to, I'm assuming Amazon.
Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, any of those. Yeah.
Beautiful. Buy the books, guys. The more we can identify these patterns, we can make such a great difference in the world. And I'm telling you, the world is upside down right now. We need all of us to partner and just make conscious changes because what's happening is crazy out there. It's, I think, disgraceful personally. So if we can change the world one person at a time, man, oh man, let's take every effort to do that. Judy, thank you for being on. Just a delight. This was a fun conversation. I hope you had fun as well.
Oh, I had a lot of fun. I'm going to leave you with one thing. Yes. Money is not a commodity. It is a relationship. And when you recognize that, everything's about to change.
I Love it. I love you. I'm going to read the books too. So I hope you guys will join me weekly as we question, build, and discover together. No matter where you are on change in your life, I truly hope that my guests and I provide tips, tools, and strategies for you to do something differently to create the change in your life or embrace the change that's happening in your life. And again, grow from it exponentially instead of feeling that you're being buried by it. So please, guys, information is a beautiful thing. Our conversation with Judy was wonderful, and you learned something. That's awesome. But now you have to apply what you've learned, and that's where the magic in life happens. So buy the book, download the free gift from Judy. Start with that. Go to her website, see some of the resources. Or if you have a burning question, please email Judy directly so she can help you move your needle on whatever change you're going through. You deserve the best in life. Judy is here to help. I am here to help. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am honored to have you tune into the show every week. Your change, my change, we're all changing together. And I love you for joining me every week. You've been listening to Enlightenment of Change with me, your host, Connie Whitman, on webtalkradio.com. Try something different. And trust me, the trajectory of your life could change overnight. Enjoy, everyone. I love you. And we'll see you next week. Have a great one. Judy, thanks again for being on.
Thank you.